Government announces sweeping spending cuts to save up to 3.5 billion cedis aimed at reducing fiscal deficit this year.
Government to raise $2 billion in syndicated loans in April as part of austerity measures.
Finance Minister says President Akufo-Addo has no intention to roll back free SHS.
ECOWAS invites Mali's junta leader Goita Simi to its summit on Thursday in Accra.
2022 fishing close season and artisanal and trawlers extended by a month beginning July 1.
And NATO leaders approve major increases in the alliance forces in Eastern Europe at an emergency summit in Brussels. You're live on GBC News and GTV. It's time for news. Hello, good evening. I'm Suyoko Kwakucho. Welcome to the news.
Good evening. My name is Shirley and Robert Frimport so translates the news into sign language. For today, we begin the news with the business segment.
Good evening and welcome. This segment is brought to you by MTN and Quick Credit, and I am Dorothy Ajamine. Government is planning to raise $2 billion through syndicated agreement with 3 international banks in April. The Finance Minister, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, hinted of ongoing negotiations with the banks to finalize the external financing agreement. Mr. Ofori-Atta said the funds would help stabilize the cedi.
The Government of Ghana is to include external financing arrangement of up to $2 billion in the next 2 to 6 weeks in line with approved external financing for 2022 and for liability management and to manage the slide of the cedi. MOF, Ministry of Finance, will also work with the Central Bank to review the foreign exchange retention policy in line with approved external financing for 2022 and for liability management.
Government has announced sweeping expenditure cuts to reduce deficits, contain rising inflation and save the sliding local currency. The Finance Minister, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, said the austerity measures would help save up to 3.5 billion cedis this year. At a news conference here in Accra, Mr. Ofori-Atta explained that the measures, which include a 50% cut in fuel coupon allocation for government appointees, would help address the current economic challenges.
Government has decided to take the following measures to ensure the achievement of the fiscal deficit target of 7.4% of GDP for 2022. Discretionary spending is to be further cut by an additional 10%. The Ministry of Finance is currently meeting with MDAs to review their spending plans for the rest of the 3 quarters to achieve the discretionary expenditure cuts. 2. These times call for very efficient use of energy resources. In line with this, there will be a 50% cut in fuel coupon allocations for all political appointees and heads of government institutions, including SOEs, effective 1st February 2022. With immediate effect, government has imposed a complete moratorium on the purchase of imported vehicles for the rest of the year. This will affect all new orders, especially for drives. Will ensure that the overall effect is to reduce total vehicle purchases by the public sector by at least 50% for the period. Again, with immediate effect, government has imposed a moratorium on all foreign travels except pre-approved critical statutory travels.
Now, with immediate effect, goods imported via the MP's terminal at the Tema port cannot be cleared without paying the duty required. Dubbed "No Duty, No Exit," the policy was part of the austerity measures announced by the Keeper of the Purse, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, and is expected to improve revenue collection.
Government will partner the private sector to also introduce digital systems to monitor quarrying, sand winning, and salt winning to get more revenue from our natural resources, and immediately enforce the no duty no exit policy at the MPS terminal at the Tema port to improve revenue collection.
And as part of the steps to bolster revenue mobilization, government has indicated that by the end of April this year, it will begin the implementation and collection of the revised property rates. Though the Finance Minister, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, did not elaborate on whether the collection would be done manually or digitally, it is expected that about 8 million properties would be on the radar of the revenue collection agencies.
Cutting down on expenditures alone will not be enough. Our focus is therefore twofold: to control expenditure and to raise more revenue domestically. As such, we will therefore begin the implementation and collection of the revised property rate by end of April 2022. We'll implement e-VAT, e-commerce, and e-gaming initiatives by end of April 2022. We will roll out a simplified tax filing mobile application for all eligible taxpayers by July 2022. We will impress upon Parliament to fast-track the passage of the e-levy bill, tax exemptions bill, and fees and charges bill. Prioritize the Revenue Assurance Compliance and Enforcement Program, the RACE program, to plug revenue leakages, especially at the ports, the infamous fuel bunkering cartels, and small-scale mining exporters cabal.
On today's Citibank markets, the cedi is trading at 7 cedis 11 pesos to the US dollar, to the pound sterling at 9 cedis 39 pesos, and the euro at 7 cedis 82 pesos. Next are the figures and also the price of cocoa and light crude from the commodity board. This segment proudly brought to you by MTN and Quick Credit. The news continues after this break. Please do stay.
You're welcome back to live on GBC News, your news and governance channel. On the local front, free SHS policy will not be rolled back, says Finance Minister Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta. The Finance Minister explained that free SHS forms part of government's long-term strategy to improve Ghana's human capital base in order to become competitive in the 21st century. The announcement puts to rest reports that government had planned to revise some of its flagship programs, such as the free SHS and NAPCO.
By April 2019, we had successfully as a country completed the 4-year IMF program. We did so and more, introducing the most ambitious social welfare policy ever seen in our country, the free SHS program. Let me say this, President Akufo-Addo has absolutely no intention to roll back on any major policy like free SHS. We see education as the best enabler for sustainable economic growth and transformation and social mobility, and will do more to improve on it for it to serve more and better our children.
The minority in Parliament says the measures outlined by the Minister of Finance, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, are not adequate enough, reacting to the Minister's briefing on the government's new measures on the economy. Minority Leader Mr. Harun Idrisu said the economy has been challenging for individuals and businesses, and the measures outlined seem unrealistic.
It is only whatever measures he intends to take and will take will be brought before the August House for us to help him tighten and implement austerity measures to save an economy which is in dire straits. Arguably, after listening to the Minister for Finance and his responses and his proposals, whilst he is talking about expenditure cut, he also insisted that they are going to spend on growth areas and social spending. That can only be a contradiction. Our immediate response to the Honorable Minister of Finance is to state emphatically and unequivocally that he's lost touch with reality. He is not in tune with the states of the Ghanaian economy. We state again strongly that we will not support e-levy in whatever form and in whatever character he brings it. But let it not be repeated that the minority did not support government in its revenue measures. We did. Only in respect of e-levy that we said that procedurally they were wrong. On free senior high school, we've heard that nothing will change about it. We think that there must be a national conversation on the future of education in our country.
The head of Mali's interim government, Keno Assimi Goita, is to attend Thursday's ECOWAS Extraordinary Summit in Accra, Ghana, to negotiate a compromised political transition program and review the sweeping sanctions imposed on Mali by the regional organization. An official letter from the ECOWAS Commission addressed to Mali's foreign ministry extended the invitation to Mr. Goita, leader of two coups and whose administration has delayed a previous transition timetable, which prompted ECOWAS's suspension and blockade of Mali.
The ECOWAS mediator on the Mali crisis, former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan, ended his latest mission to Bamako this week without any agreement on the transition program. Diplomatic sources say Thursday's summit is to negotiate a compromised transition timeline of between 2 years and 12 months. The meeting comes on the heel of a damning disclosure by French President Emmanuel Macron that he was instrumental to the sanctions imposed by ECOWAS and the African Union on Mali. Goita's invitation to the ECOWAS summit is seen as a climb down by the regional bloc, which has been accused of inconsistency and strategy in dealing with the resurgence of military coups in its member states, Mali, Guinea and Burkina Faso. Guinea and Burkina Faso are also suspended from ECOWAS but have been spared ECOWAS's harsh sanctions, even though in defiance of the organization's demand, their military rulers have not announced any transition timelines.
In a move to reduce pressure on the spawning fish stocks and allow for greater percentage of the gravid females to increase for bumper catch, the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development and the Fisheries Commission have extended this year's closed season period for both artisanal fishermen and trawlers by an additional month. This means the closed season period will run from July 1 to August 31, 2022. This was announced at a stakeholder engagement involving the ministry and fishing communities in Tema, Apam and Axim.
We'll be observing the closed season for the fishing industry this year too, from the 1st of July to 31st of July. That is for the artisanal and the semi-industrial. And then the trawlers will also observe theirs from the 1st of July to 31st of August 2022.
Closed season is a period of the year when it is prohibited to kill certain types of animals or fish. In the case of fishes, it is to allow reproduction or rebuilding of fish stocks. At a stakeholder meeting on the current state of affairs of the season, representatives from Accra, Tema, Axim and other coastal areas across the country raised concerns about the illegal activities of some marine fishery fleet, industrial and commercial trawlers that were regulations given by the ministry during the closed season period. The chief director at the Ministry of Fisheries, Mr. Kwesi Amohimson, disclosed that the 2021 closed season brought significant increase in bumper harvest for most fishermen as compared to the 2019 closed season. This, he said, necessitated the shift of the closed season from July to August instead of May to June.
How many tuna vessels do we have in Ghana? How many canoes do we have on the sea? We have about 14,000 canoes on the sea. And how many of them want to use light fishing? I mean, look, let us all come together as key stakeholders in this business and protect the sea for tomorrow.
The Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, Madam Hawa Kumsin, advised fisherfolks to respect the closed season to ensure bumper harvest for domestic consumption and export.
Fishers are standing prosecution as we speak in the western region of the country, from Shama and Abuesi. And so we're going to continue with this. Anybody who will be found guilty will be prosecuted.
The 2021 closed season report from the ministry also showed that about 62% of fishermen across the country have now embraced the closed season initiative. The ministry says it makes the closed season attractive and easy for fisherfolks to embrace as part of their fishing activities.
Promoting the use of legal timber in the construction industry by contractors working on government projects has been this time round. Players in the timber industry, including the Forestry Commission, civil society, have resolved to ensure that illegally acquired timber are not used in government's big-ticket projects. The UN Environment Programme says illegal logging costs the global economy between $30 to $100 billion annually. In West Africa, illegal logging is blamed on deforestation, biodiversity loss and poverty among forest-fringed communities. This has threatened the sustainability of the timber industry. At a workshop to discuss the way forward in ensuring timber purchase have the right documents, the Director of Nature and Development Foundation, Mr. Mustafa Seidu, said government frowns on illegal logging, but unfortunately hardly checks the sources of timber products used by contractors undertaking its projects.
The majority of our timber through illegal logging and the process of us consuming illegally logged timber. So we are all complicit in that. And more complicit is government, because government is the largest entity that procures timber. If contractors who undertake government projects are required to use legal timber, it will reduce the consumption of illegal timber.
The Chief Manager of the Timber Industry Development Division of the Forestry Commission, Mr. Peter Zomelo, outlined the procedure one needs to use to purchase legal timber and measures the Forestry Commission is putting in place to address the challenge.
If you are purchasing a legal timber, then you must ensure that that timber is covered either with a domestic timber inspection certificate, which we popularly call the DOTIC, issued by the Industry Development Division of the Forestry Commission. If the timber has been procured by a vendor and is being sold on a local market, then that timber must be sold and covered with a domestic timber sales waybill. Anybody who is buying timber from the domestic market should look for this document.
A member of the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industries, Mr. Samuel Amegaigbo, says the new directive will bring sanity into the timber industry and improve the quality of work.
We have so many unstandard, sawing of timber that comes onto the market. If you go to several sawmills, for example, you see so many species of wood that are going waste. But because we don't have standards control and the unregulated sizing and cutting, for example, the amount of wastage that we incur in Ghana is extremely too high.
The paramount chief of Wassa Di Toko in the Wassa Memfi East municipality of the Western region, Nana Ntia Kwejuri, has initiated a reclamation plan to restore degraded lands in the community. At a news conference in Wassa Di Koto, Nana Ntia Kwejuri called on residents to support the idea to reclaim degraded lands for an oil palm plantation project. This is part of his development agenda for the area.
It is a planned massive reclamation of degraded lands to their previous states. Dikoto Junction, Abase, Wassa Kumase, Sebeho, Sopanso, Apia Krom, Dikoto Krofrom, Labi Krom, these and other areas fall under this project. Galamsey has destroyed most of the lands in these areas, and the mine sites are now death traps. The chief of Wassa Dikoto, Nana Kwejuri, said an Indian investor is proposing to help to reclaim these degraded mined-out sites for an oil palm plantation project. His appeal to residents was for support as part of his development agenda for the area. He disabused their minds that he plans to cut down thousands of cocoa farms for an oil palm plantation.
From 1 to 10, less than 30%. So we are saying Cataso, there's a gains are communication.
Some farmers were grateful to the chief for his proposed development agenda for the people of Wassa. Some residents also called on all to support the project.
With Ghana making substantial gains in the grains subsector, a newly constituted governing board is in place to boost the export market and also help put in place price control measures. The Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Usifi Yakutu, tasked the board to end importation of seeds from other countries and ensure that seeds are readily available to all farmers nationwide.
The country is also heavily dependent on imported seeds from Europe and other African countries. As a way out of the woods, the Grains and Legumes Development Board was established by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture in September 2021 to, among others, produce and distribute good quality foundation seeds of cereals, legumes and vegetable seeds, as well as vegetative propagated planting materials of cassava, plantain, yam, and citrus seeds. When he inaugurated the new board, the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Wusefri Yakoto, tasked the members to ensure that seed, which is the basic unit of plant propagation and very critical to crop production, will be made available to farmers at all times in order to increase their household incomes and reduce poverty.
You have a very big responsibility to revive an organization which has been in virtual comatose for many years.
The chairman of the board, Mr. Alexander Aqua, pledged the board's readiness to support the government flagship program, Planting for Food and Jobs, with the provision of quality foundation seeds of the major staple crops to farmers and the commodity value chain development as envisioned by the sector minister.
Packaged water producers in Techiman, the Benue East regional capital, say the high cost of production is necessitating an increase in prices of their products. They hope to fix the new prices from March 28, 2022 to help them meet production costs and improve the quality of service.
Currently, a sachet of water, popularly known as pure water, sells for 20 pesos, while the 0.5-litre bottle is 1 cedi, 50 pesos in most parts of the Benue East region. The medium-sized 750 ml bottle water sells for 2 cedis, and the 1-litre bottle water is 3 cedis, 50 pesos. A bag of sachet water of 30 pieces also sells for 4 cedis and 3 cedis 50 pesos, depending on the source of production. The Techiman branch manager of Voltic Cool Park, Mr. Azaya Nketia, told GBC News that effective March 28, 2022, his outfit will increase a bag of sachet water, which used to sell for 4 cedis to 5 cedis. He points at the hike in fuel prices and production materials.
There has been recent increase in the price of inputs. Voltic Ghana Limited supply us with the raw materials, and they don't get it from Ghana here. They import it. So right now that the dollar is not stable, it's increasing day by day. Surely materials prices also will increase.
Mr. Nketia appealed to government to help them stay in business.
We want government to do something to help reduce the fuel prices for us, and also do whatever it can to make the dollar stable.
Other sachet producers also told GBC News the high cost of production materials have kicked many of their colleagues out of business, and this is bringing intolerable levels of hardship on their dependents. When the coronavirus disrupted the world, Ghana's Infectious Disease Center came under intense pressure to steady its operations and help it to function properly. The center has received a 140,000 Ghana cedis short in yam to purchase consumables for the next 6 months. The effort is also to help improve its medical, diagnostic and research capability with regard to infectious diseases.
The other beneficiaries are the National Cardiothoracic Center and United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA. It received 280,000 Ghana cedis. The gesture forms part of the Prudential Life Insurance Ghana's COVID-19 relief project. In all, 700,000 Ghana cedis was presented. UNFPA is the lead and to deliver a world where every pregnancy is wanted. The UNFPA will use its expertise to fill the gaps that exist in addressing the needs of Kayaye with access to basic healthcare services, personal development, provision of supplies and care kits. The National Cardiothoracic Center remains a tertiary referral center in cardiovascular diseases for both adults and pediatrics. The Ghana Infectious and Disease Center, GIDC, was built due to the emergence of COVID-19 pandemic. It was facilitated by the Ghana COVID-19 Private Sector Fund in collaboration with the Ghana Armed Forces at the Ga East Municipal Hospital. It is to improve the medical diagnostic and research capacity of Ghana on infectious diseases. The support from the Prudential Life Insurance Ghana was described by the beneficiaries as timely.
People think that COVID is gone. For us as a center, we are happy. We are in quiet time.
The impact this donation will make to the life of the most vulnerable one.
Climbing up to check on their bills, and they cannot even afford their surgeries. So with this gesture, it will go a long way to bring smiles on people's faces.
The Regional Chief Executive, Southern and Western Africa of Prudential Life Insurance Ghana, Mr. Emmanuel, said as an insurance company, partnering with the centers will make life better by giving back to society.
Our investment will do it in a very socially responsible way, and not only that, but in a very humane way. And the objective is to make sure that people get the most out of life.
All three beneficiaries promised to use the funds for the intended purpose.
We're live on GBC News, and this is News Hour. We take a break. When we come back, we'll do some energy news. Please stay.
By 15 pesos per litre for the 3 months starting April 1st, 2022. The move is part of measures by government to cushion petroleum consumers against the recent spike in fuel price at the pumps. At a media briefing in Accra, the Minister for Finance, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, said all marketing companies will be engaged to reduce their margins to bring down the prices.
Bus margin reduced by 2 pesos per litre, Unified Petroleum Pricing Fund reduced by 9 pesos per litre, fuel margin reduced by 1 peso per litre, primary distribution margin reduced by 3 pesos per litre. These reductions in margins are expected to reduce prices of petrol by 1.6% and diesel by 1.4%. We anticipate that the measures taken to strengthen the currency will help further stabilize the prices at the pump.
Finance Minister Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta said the state of the economy is as a result of the rising fuel prices on the global market and the exchange rate depreciation. Though the rise in the crude oil prices could have been a windfall, Ghana's import of petroleum products amounts to 5.2 times the value of proceeds from its crude oil exports. This the minister describes as a mirage. The National Petroleum Authority is to engage OMCs to reduce their margins as part of their sharing. Speaking to GBC News, a former vice president of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, Mr. Michael Buzumbil, said the OMCs are committed to reducing their margins to ease the weight on consumers at the pumps.
We have just 2.5% of the entire margin. You know, if we add our dealers' margin, so both margins make up maximum 5%. So really, there isn't much that we can do. But anytime we see the need to squeeze something out for the consumer, we do not hesitate to do. Deputy Minister for Energy, Mr. William Ureku-Ado, says although the world is moving away from fossil fuels, Ghana will continue to exploit its oil and gas resources in a more environmentally friendly manner to fund the transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy. Ureku-Ado said this at the National Energy Transition Forum at Goso, the Ahafo Regional Capital.
In line with the Paris Accord, Ghana hopes to achieve net zero emissions as part of the fight against climate change. The process of developing a national energy transition plan to help achieve the target by 2050 is ongoing. The Ministry of Energy is organizing the National Energy Transition Forums around the country for inputs from the public. Deputy Minister for Energy, Mr. William Ureku-Ado, said Ghana is doing all it can to move from harmful fossil fuels to clean renewable energy.
As envisaged by the Paris Agreement and other protocols, we are also planning to aggressively develop and utilize cleaner energy resources such as solar, wind, hydro, and nuclear, among others.
Deputy Minister for Transport, Mr. Frederick Obeng-Adom, said the transport sector is a major emitter of carbons and government is working to address the challenge by introducing environmentally friendly vehicles.
Achieving a net zero future requires coordinated approach touching on many aspects of our national economy. It also means that we need to reform the way we generate and use energy to power the various sectors of the economy. Globally,
a member of the National Energy Transition Committee, Mr. Albert Ajiman-Forting, took the participants through the National Energy Transition Plan. He mentioned increased natural gas-based electricity generation, renewable energy generation like wind and solar, and implementing the National Nuclear Energy Roadmap as key options contained in the plan.
Well, that's it for the energy segment.